At last year's Emmys, the studio received 23 nominations and took home 13 wins. Seth Rogen won as an actor, writer, director, and producer. It was a capstone to a 25-year career that's been remarkably forgettable. Other comedians who have held the position of the world's top comedy star have held it for shorter periods, but they left much greater legacies. Jim Carrey was huge from 1994 to 1997, and in those 4 years he gave us an abundance of hilarious work.
No way! That's great!
We landed on the moon!
Now, obviously, it's unfair to compare anyone's output to Jim Carrey's, but Mike Myers and Will Ferrell made the most of their time at the top, and I'm not the biggest fan of Adam Sandler, but his 90s comedies have some really funny stuff. Seth Rogen has dominated comedy for as long as all of those guys put together, 20 years and almost as many starring roles. And what do you remember from his career? The McLovin stuff? Yeah, that's pretty good. I like the ending of Pineapple Express. And of course there's this memorable moment from The 40-Year-Old Virgin, but I'm not sure Seth Rogen wants us to remember this material.
You know I know you're gay?
How?
I saw you make a spinach dip in a loaf of sourdough bread once.
But what else? Tell me your favorite scene from The Guilt Trip, or your favorite joke from Sausage Party. Can you tell me a single thing about The Night Before? And I'm not asking for big characters or broad jokes. Overall, I prefer more low-key comedies. Office Space, A Serious Man, the Christopher Guest movies, the Albert Brooks movies, Rushmore, Annie Hall, Adaptation, The Apartment, Four Lions. None of those films have catchphrases or obviously comedic plots, but what they do have that makes them memorable is an original comedic tone, solid stories, and jokes that derive from specific characters.
Look at me. Look at me. Don't look at anybody else. Don't look at the fat-ass losers or freaks. You look at me!
And that's what's missing in Seth Rogen's work. Before I go too far, let me be fair. I'm not saying that Seth Rogen has never been funny. I'm not saying he's without talent. His first role was in Freaks and Geeks, and he's a meaningful part of the excellence of that show. Superbad is, without a doubt, a B-plus movie, maybe even an A-minus. The cop subplot with McLovin was great, and the relationship between Jonah Hill and Michael Cera was super relatable. Honestly, it's at least in consideration for the title of Best High School Comedy.
Hey, Greg, why don't you go piss your pants again?
That was like 8 years ago, asshole.
People don't forget.
But Superbad is the exception that proves the rule. His other scripts are not nearly as strong. Seth Rogen is unusual among comedy stars in that he did not come from the sketch or stand-up or improv worlds. He's a writer. He really wants everyone to think of him as a writer. But the craftsmanship is not there. In his scripts, scenes drag on aimlessly, the pacing is not tight, the stories don't evolve gracefully or cleverly, they just shuffle along for a couple of hours. In fact, one of the executives at Point Grey, Seth Rogen's production company, flat out told me that one of the reasons the budgets for his movies are surprisingly high is that they need to film much more footage than the average comedy, because the script isn't fully formed, and they're trying to do their writing on set and in the editing room, searching for plot and punchlines in a sea of meandering takes.
And this goes on and back and forth for 90 or so minutes until the movie just sort of ends.
The hope, I guess, is that this will create a more spontaneous tone, but the result is a lack of specificity that weighs down all of his productions. The stories and the jokes are not fully formed, and the characters are repetitive. Time after time, Seth Rogen appears on screen as a vaguely friendly underachiever who likes to smoke pot, and the jokes that come out of that character are jokes that could be in a million other movies or TV shows. Let's look at This Is the End, a quintessential Seth Rogen and his buddies movie. There's some funny stuff in it. Jonah Hill's passive aggression towards Jay Baruchel made me laugh in the first half of the movie. Craig Robinson and Danny McBride get some chuckles, but despite the high-concept plot, the movie is very low energy. Most of it consists of the guys sitting around the house. Emma Watson is there just to set up a very labored bit where she misunderstands the other characters. Jonah Hill does a tired Exorcist parody, and the characters default to piss and shit jokes when they can't come up with anything else to say.
We went to see fucking Gladiator, and you sharted midway through the movie.
I did.
Due to the tiger's appearance.
I got scared of the tigers.
Yeah.
Literally, when the second tiger came out, I went, and then I shat. I shat in the theater.
It's not an abysmal movie, and there are a few laughs, but this isn't the median Seth Rogen movie. This is one of his better efforts. The rest of his filmography is a repetitive, forgettable assemblage of the same standard issue parts: man-children learning to grow up, contrived situations to create supposedly comedic misunderstandings, drug humor as a crutch, pointless celebrity cameos, jokes that are over-explained, shapeless stories. This is The Night Before. This is Sausage Party, Neighbors, The Interview, Neighbors 2, Santa Inc., The Sausage Party TV show.
Why can't you repeat something good?
Against that repetitiveness, I can see why The Studio seemed like a breath of fresh air. A more mature protagonist, a specific satirical target, and who better to take on Hollywood than a man who knows the system inside and out? The Studio is not as shaggy as Seth Rogen's previous work. The episodes are neatly written with tidy endings, but the celebrity cameos still feel indulgent. There's still too much drug humor and too many scenes where characters scream and race around to disguise the fact that nothing interesting is happening. And most of all, it didn't make me laugh.
There's 2/8 of a gram in each one.
What? No! 2/8 of an ounce! What the fuck is 2/8 of a gram? That's not a thing!
Oh my god, that explains why I'm so fucking high!
Is he a scary amount of mushrooms or not?
7 grams in each!
A lot of that has to do with the hero being just another flat Seth Rogen character. Instead of a well-meaning friend or a well-meaning stoner or a well-meaning hot dog, he's a well-meaning studio executive. There's not much more to him than that. We know that he likes Goodfellas. That's about it. There's nothing comedically or dramatically compelling about him. And for a man who's been working at the highest levels of Hollywood for years, a man who's got the knowledge and insight to really skewer the industry, Seth Rogen's critiques of show business are pretty shallow.
Anthony Mackie, the movie is a masterpiece. I wouldn't change a fucking thing.
He also hates the motel sequence.
Yeah, this shit sucks.
Oh, mad respect, man.
I suppose that it would be hard for Hollywood to make a truly biting satire of its own flaws, but I don't know, The Comeback did it pretty well.
This is that one time a year that you realize, that despite the box office and the glamour, Hollywood's really just a small company town, and you're on the team.
Maybe that's because Lisa Kudrow and Michael Patrick King aren't as big as Seth Rogen. It's a curious thing. The subject matter and the success of The Studio prove that Seth Rogen has conquered Hollywood, but its content shows that he's still scared of it. But why? His success in Hollywood is established. He's got the money and the clout to do something special. He doesn't have to worry about people turning their backs on him if he comes out with a flop. If anybody can afford not to do safe, predictable work, it's him. It takes a certain kind of bravery to put yourself out there the way the best comedic actors do, and sometimes that results in a performance or a movie that falls flat or is terribly embarrassing. Seth Rogen has never put out a performance like that. He's got a baseline of quality, and if I had to pick, I would sooner watch something like The Night Before rather than The Love Guru. But because he's never pushed himself the way these other actors do, he's never had a chance of creating a performance that would be memorable, original, or make you laugh to the point of tears.
My father would womanize, he would drink, he would make outrageous claims like he invented the question mark. Sometimes he would accuse chestnuts of being lazy.
And the same goes for the writing. To be a great comedy screenwriter, you have to have the confidence to take chances. You can't fall back on reused material, or mannered deliveries, or naughty words that will get a reflexive giggle. You have to write jokes knowing that maybe not everyone in the audience will get it. You have to take the risk of not getting a laugh.
Threw himself off the George Washington Bridge.
Well, shit, I don't blame him. I couldn't take it either, having to play Jimmy Crack Corn every night. Well, pardon me for saying so. That's pretty fucking stupid, isn't it? George Washington Bridge. You throw yourself off the Brooklyn Bridge, traditionally.
Seth Rogen doesn't do that. He may start with a memorable premise, like the apocalypse or the assassination of a dictator, but the stories always devolve into the same mush. His record is solid enough to get people watching his movies, but the results are never inspired or inspiring. Have you ever left a Seth Rogen movie doubled over from laughing? Have you looked back on a Seth Rogen script and thought, that was really clever? I don't mean this rhetorically. Really, try it yourself. Think of all the great jokes from Seth Rogen movies, all the great characters and performances, the one-liners that you hear quoted to this day, the inventive set pieces and hilarious plot twists. It's a pretty short list, isn't it?
Nothing.
I don't hear this opinion voiced often, but I think people feel it. This isn't a scientific study, but if you search Reddit for funniest movies or funniest lines, you'll find a couple references to Superbad, but other than that, almost nothing about the man who's dominated comedy for the last 20 years. That's what's most disappointing. In the dire ecosystem of Hollywood today, he's maybe the only person with the capital and the opportunity to make a new and inventive comedy film with a comfortable budget behind it. And it would be a great thing for comedy and for Hollywood in general if there was somebody in a position of power willing to take chances. But Seth Rogen is not going to be that person because he lacks the courage. So he remains a comedy icon who's never done anything iconic.
Also, he is not that funny.